The battlefield was silent when the fires finally dimmed, a silence so heavy that even the broken towers seemed to lean inward, as if listening. Smoke curled above ruined walls, where only hours before, legions had clashed. Now only ash and broken steel remained. And in the middle of that carnage stood a woman, or rather, something greater. A giantess, taller than any mortal wall, her skin marred by wounds, yet her stance unyielding. Her name was Arindra, last queen of the Stone-Blooded. Her people were gone, slaughtered by betrayal and war, and only her breath, ragged and heavy, tethered her to this world. At her feet knelt a human, Kale, his armor shattered, his sword broken, his body battered by the chaos of the day. He was, in the eyes of her people and her enemies alike, insignificant. Just a man, fragile, brief, mortal. Yet in her fading eyes, he was all that remained of hope.
Irindra's voice trembled, not with weakness, but with the weight of something eternal. "Take my sword," she said, holding out a weapon that glowed with a fire unlike any forge. The steel pulsed with a rhythm, alive, humming like the beating of the earth itself. "Take it, and never know death." Kale stared at her, fear and awe battling in his chest. The legends of the Stone-Blooded were known even among his kind. Their swords were relics of the first dawn, gifts from gods who walked the stars. It was said they bound the soul of the wielder to the blade, granting them eternity. Yet eternity came at a cost, and costs were rarely spoken aloud. Kale's voice was rough, broken from shouting commands and prayers through battle. "Why me? Why not one of your kin?" For a moment, silence filled the ruined city. Irindra lowered her vast form, the ground cracking beneath her as she forced her body closer to him. Her blood pooled, thick and dark, and yet she smiled through it. "Because," she whispered, "my kin are ash, my king lies broken, my sisters sleep beneath spears driven by liars. Only you remain. A human. Short-lived, and yet your heart burns longer than empires." The words pressed into him with the weight of destiny. Kale stepped forward, hands shaking as he reached for the hilt. The moment his skin touched the steel, fire coursed into his veins. Not fire that burned, but fire that remembered. He saw flashes of mountains rising, of storms tearing seas apart, of laughter so deep it cracked the heavens. He almost let go, yet something in him tightened. He did not release the sword. The giantess's lips curved in a faint smile. Her breath rattled, her life slipping into shadow, but before it left entirely, she bent low and whispered words that chilled him more than the fires of the blade. "Do not trust the queen." And then, as her final breath left her body, it was not sorrow that escaped. It was laughter, laughter wild and terrible, echoing across the ruins as though mocking death itself. And then she was gone. Kale carried the sword to the court of Lysera, the alien queen who ruled what fragments of power remained. She was beautiful in ways that unsettled him, too flawless, too precise, her crown made of bones that could only have belonged to the giantess's kin. When she looked at him, her gaze was sharp enough to pierce the soul. "So," she said in a voice as smooth as silk, "you hold her sword, and yet she is dust. Tell me, human, did she beg before the end?" Kale's fists tightened. The image of Irindra's last laugh burned bright in his mind. "She gave it freely," he said. The queen tilted her head, her lips curving in something between amusement and cruelty. "Then she lied to you. That sword does not grant life. It steals it. Every soul you cut down will bind itself to you, each death another chain. You will be nothing but a prison of voices." Her courtiers laughed quietly, serpentine and sharp, but Kale felt the sword hum in his hand, as though rejecting her words. He remembered Irindra's warning, "Do not trust the queen." Lysera leaned forward, her beauty dangerous, her perfume laced with flowers from dying stars. "Perhaps you and I can come to an arrangement. The alien king is gone. The giantess is no more. But you hold eternity in your hands. Take my hand, marry me, rule beside me, and together we will forge a new dynasty." Gasps spread through the hall. "A human, marry the queen? Impossible. Yet she said it with such conviction, as though it had already been written. Cale's heart pounded. He thought of the battlefield of blood, of laughter. He thought of how easily lies could dress themselves in silk. "Why me?" he asked again. The queen's lips curved into a dangerous smile. "Because humans are liars," she whispered, "and so am I." That night, alone in his chambers, Cale drew the sword and studied its light. The blade whispered, not in words but in memories. And then, before his eyes, she appeared, Irindra, not in flesh but in spirit, her massive frame shadowing the stars of his mind. Her voice was fierce and eternal. "You carry me now. Not my body but my will. My laughter is in you. Do not waste it." Cale understood then, the queen had lied. The sword did not grant immortality. It granted legacy. Every soul saved, every battle fought, every death witnessed would remain unforgotten. Not eternal life but eternal memory. And that was far more dangerous. The queen's marriage pact soon revealed itself as nothing more than another cage. She sought to use him, to control the power within the blade, to crown herself above all worlds. Yet whispers of rebellion spread. The alien king, thought dead, moved in the shadows. The courtiers whispered of betrayal. And Cale, the human once forgotten, stood at the center of it all, holding a sword that carried the laughter of a giantess. When war came again, it was not with armies of steel, but with truths and lies. The queen tried to bind him with promises, the king sought to use him as a weapon, but Cale had already chosen. He was not theirs. He was the bearer of memory, the guardian of laughter, the one who would carry the voices of the fallen into the future. And when his blade fell, it did not fall in silence. The echoes of those who came before thundered with him. On the final night, as the queen screamed and the king roared, as kingdoms burned and skies split, Cale stood amidst it all, his sword blazing brighter than the sun. And somewhere in that fire, he heard it again, the sound of Irindra's last breath, her laughter defying even death itself. And Cale laughed with her.